Here we are again, so within our auditorium to talk about a complex topic, which is also interesting as well, the transformation of the business model relating to the management of claims, but also the networks of workshops. And of course, we're going to talk about this topic with our friend Fabio Uglietti, Quattroruote professional. Welcome. So, welcome to our auditorium, and I give the floor to you. You said the basics. This is an important topic because the relationship, for instance, between car repairs and car manufacturers is of paramount importance. And over the last few years, this topic is also changing towards a higher and higher digitalization. Of course, this is important for the evolution of processes, but also to manage a number of situations like COVID. So this topic is absolutely important, and we'll take stock of the situation on the basis of what is happening in Italy, and we'll also make an extraordinary journey because we will not stop in Italy, but I'll take you to Paris, and we'll also go to Sidney. So let me introduce the guests that will be with us in our journey. So Antonella Grasso, representing the CNA. Hi, Antonella. And in our journey, we also have Giuseppe Pace, who is the president of the car repairers from Confartigianato. Hello, hi everyone. Well, since this is an international journey, I'd like to introduce an international guest, Christophe Bazin from the French Fédération of Car Repairers. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you. Let us continue now with another guest from the insurance company side. We have Massimo Sartori, and Massimo Sartori is representing Cattolica Assicurazioni. Welcome.
Ciao Fabio, buongiorno a tutti.
Hello everyone. And then another important guest representing ITAS Assicurazioni, Silvia Pansini. Hello, good afternoon. And we continue with another guest who's taking us to Sidney, Michel Malik, who is an important editor and he works for BodyShop News International, and he is in Sydney. Hello.
Good morning from Sydney, Australia.
Sì, in questo caso diciamo buonasera, però è dopo mezzanotte da noi, quindi è comunque mattina. Okay, let's start now with the first interview. We have a limited amount of time. And so, I start with the first question to Antonella Grasso. So, Antonella, I'll ask you the first question relating to the digital management of claims. And of course, this has been debated for a while, and there are some working groups that are involved in this activity. And it is an important topic, so I'd like to ask you whether you can provide us with some updates on the state of the art in your groups and also with the Insurance Confederation. And also, as you know, we have a couple of minutes. I'd like to ask you where you want to go and what is the direction you want to follow. So especially when it comes to the relation between body shops and insurance companies. Well, thank you. I'll try to stick to the schedule and to be fast. So the relation between insurance companies and body shops is fairly difficult because it took us a while and we needed a law so that the several stakeholders involved and which intervene in the management of claims, well, would sit around the table. It is a law passed in 2017 that besides laying out some regulatory provisions in terms of market competition and freedom of choice by drivers and total repayment of the damage, well, this, in addition to all that, this provision involves the various associations and it allowed everyone to sit around a table and define the rules of the game. So this is what we did as from 2016, 2017 onwards. And in 3 years, we have defined an agreement, which are the guidelines. And these guidelines within the regulatory framework include some rules and behaviors between body shops and insurance companies. So the guidelines were signed in 2019, May, and this is December 2020, and they still have to be fully enforced. We're working on it, and I hope, of course, that it is possible to, let's say, complete the process, because the main goal is to have a better or total transparency and traceability of claims, and also the quality of repairs, and also protection of consumers, and also, for instance, certain times relating to the repayment and the possibility to get the reimbursement. So, of course, if everything is complied with, then the main goal is to reduce disputes deriving from these situations. And all this, of course, is available within a platform. So the digital approach intervenes in this way because it allows us to for instance, identify the accidents and also to understand whether the parties are somehow complying with the provisions in force. And if they, for instance, comply with the provisions signed and what is defined in the guidelines. And this gives us the opportunity to be fully aware of what happens in the market and also in relation to the existing regulation. So, of course, everything is in progress. And if all of the parties comply with the provisions, well, then there will be a mutual benefit, a benefit for all, and for everyone and consumers, and this is important. So we hope and we believe in this, and we believe this is a good agreement, and the fact that is not in force yet, well, maybe this is the evidence that it is a good agreement, and I'm quite provocative here. But we hope that it is possible to have the opportunity to implement all the things that we debated upon in the last few years, because the negotiation has been quite difficult, and the negotiation could not be easy. That goes without saying. So hopefully we're going to meet shortly with good results relating to the operational activity, and we are working now on the development of this specific tool. Okay. So, as you said, you want to have more transparency, and we hope that soon we're going to implement everything, because you've been working for several months now in these groups. But what you said allows me to introduce Giuseppe Pace, and who is the president of Confartigianato. I'd like to also get your point of view on what is happening now, also in relation to the main goals. And in your opinion, I'd like to know what are the strategic aspects that need to be assessed, also in consideration of the continuation of the activities of this working group, and as Antonella said, what's next? And well, I believe that Antonella made an interesting analysis of the debate that we've had with the different repairers and also following the law that was mentioned. I believe that a good activity was carried out, and the goal was that of identifying a number of strategies and also something that would be translated into a better service for drivers. So today we are in a situation of conflict when it comes to, for instance, insurance companies. And one of the goals is to reduce these conflicts with a better communication and also better than the one we have now between, for instance, insurance companies and the rest, let's say. So we are now facing a transformation that I'm sure will provide a huge impact to our sector. And of course, in our sector, in 1986, we had our first DOS platform. Windows was not yet there. So, of course, our category has always been ready to the use of technologies, of course. But, of course, the body shops are doing and will have to make huge investments when it comes to, for instance, their equipment and also information and also basically information. And also we need to recognize the professional skills in terms of cost per hour, because in Italy we need to say that there are, for instance, body shops that are forced to work at a cost per hour that is much lower than 30 euros per hour. And I'd like to share views on this item with the other representatives, because this is definitely important. I'm sure we will. I believe in Italy it's not acceptable any longer to work for less than 30 euros per hour. I'm sure that in other occasions we will talk about that. No, I just wanted to conclude on this. Always as regards the technological aspect, I believe that a strategic aspect is represented by the possibility of monitoring and also assessing along the pathway with insurance companies the safeguard of the right to choose by, for instance, the person that is somehow damaged by an eventual accident. And this is something we will focus upon. And another thing which is very important is the specific assessment made remotely. And I believe that in this case, the discussion with the repairer has to be taken into consideration carefully. Well, now this allows us to move on to insurance companies, and this is an unbelievable world. There are 15,000, let's say, body shops in Italy, and let's try and see what happens. For instance, Silvia Pansini, ITAS Assicurazioni. You are very much active also within ANIA. So this concept of digitalization for you, what is the meaning? How do you see, for instance, the evolution in terms of relationship between the assessments? Well, digitalization within the processes to manage claims has to go through a transformation, and transformation takes place through a series of elements, that is to say, of technological, cultural, organizational nature, but also managerial nature. What matters in this moment is the combined approach between the technologies available, so the new technologies, and in fact, was mentioning the video survey or video assessment. Also, well, this is important also in consideration of the COVID situation, but this has to be combined with an organizational skill, because it has to allow the possibility to provide goods and services and content and resources. And also, it is possible to eliminate the eventual errors. So the transformation process we have to deal with in our activity, but generally speaking, in order to have a digitalization in all of its forms and all of its nuances, has to go through a series of phases that include automation and the cloud and mobile, and also in consideration of the use we make of it, the IoT, Internet of Things. So it is important to be aware of the advantages that these things will offer to us, what the advantages will be, the automation of all processes, and this means that we will reduce the errors, the eventual errors, and we will speed up both the response time, but also the possibility to increase efficiency. And furthermore, we'll go through a dematerialization process, and everything has to be paperless in order to have a virtuous process. But the fundamental aspect is the virtualization, that is to say, new software allowing to manage everything in a coordinated way. And then the cloud. Of course, we have cloud in our daily lives in any possible way, and it is the cloud which allows us to get what we need. And the very last aspect is mobile. Our services, the services we're going to offer and provide, especially in the groups we were mentioning before with Antonella and Pino, but generally speaking with the insurance companies, is to provide services that might be used by everyone at any moment. So the mobile has to be the one that leads the way and guides us all. But the digitalization process already had its own let's say, point of start, but everything has been speeded up as a consequence of the pandemic. We cannot go back, so we have to embrace the new approach, and then we have to start with our good intentions in order to allow communication to work at best. Well, you said some very interesting things, and also because we know that the pandemic has been an accelerator of these processes, so not just in the relationship with the car repairers, but also as to consumers, because we are increasing the virtualization of these relations. I like to involve also Massimo Sartori, Cattolica Assicurazioni, because, well, Massimo, I have a question for you, because we've talked about, for instance, video surveys or video assessments or video inspections, but reference is also made to artificial intelligence, which is becoming part of the management of our estimates and activities. So we talk about cybersecurity, so also insurance companies, but also car repairers are managing huge quantities of data. So we often talk about that. I'd like to know, out of all of this technology, what is your point of view? What changes as far as you are concerned, and how do you see this scenario, also in the post-COVID phase? Well, let's say that in the framework of the relationship between insurance company and policyholder, our challenge is to have easy and intuitive applications, as we immediately understand the requests by the policyholder and provide responses and answers. In this way, the policyholder perceives actually the value of the product that has purchased, because in the moment of the claim, then you have the truth. Then all of the technology between the company and the repairer, well, this is an additional challenge, which is an epoch-making challenge. So apart from the video inspection, which helped us a lot in the carrying out of our activities, we have the scenario relating to artificial intelligence. So the challenge now, besides artificial intelligence, that will help us for sure to optimize and pave the way, let's say, in the relationship between insurance company and car repairers. We will optimize our processes, and then it's important to go back to the automatic assessment or survey. But we still have to implement it. There's a long way ahead, but of course, with a couple of pictures, once we get it, the car repairer immediately sees, for instance, the damage and what the amount will be to be paid, and the repair can be done. So it's a value added, which is extremely huge. Another framework which is relevant in all these connections is the fact that, for instance, the car repairer, and in this case where car repairers have to provide support, they need to have a good relationship with car manufacturers, because in the increasingly level of complexity of vehicles, of course it is important to have an easy approach when repairing vehicles, which shall be truly green, and not just on paper, but truly green. So another important challenge for, of course, the new technologies, as well as they provide us to the tools to implement these changes. I wanted to ask you a question. Very often we talk about video inspections and video, let's say, assessment. And can we make a sort of distinction between video inspection and video assessment? Could you please clarify these two different things? A video inspection is a video with, in which, for instance, I acknowledge the damage. Hence, an inspection that I can also make with the policyholder. Whereas the video assessment, well, it includes an assessor that acknowledges jointly with the repairer of the damage and jointly checks, or both check the damages and, for instance, discuss and debate and come to a final opinion relating to the repair to be made, whether, for instance, there is anything that has to be replaced, or if it is necessary to, for instance, place a new coating of painting on the car. So, of course, it is a joint activity between the car repairer and our assessor. I always say that what matters is to have a joint goal achieved. So the very good repair of the vehicle in a safe way and at a fair price. I fully agree with you, especially when it comes to the suitable repair of the vehicle. And Massimo, we often talk about that, especially if we think about these new increasingly connected cars. And of course, the safety is absolutely important for those that drive those cars. Thank you, Massimo. So, Barbara, now we have our journey to France now.
Nous allons dans la cité Lumière.
Je suis prête.
Tu es prête?
Ah oui,
Christophe, tu es là?
Oui, bien sûr.
Il est là aussi, il est
oui,
prêt aussi.
Tu es là, Christophe. Ok, je vais parler français avec vous. Et Christophe, tu es le secrétaire général de la FFC, que c'est la Fédération Française de la Carrosserie. Tu la veux présenter?
Oui, il n'y a pas de problème. Tu veux
oui?
que je présente la fédération ou que je présente le marché français?
Je pense une minute pour la fédération et depuis, je vais poser une question à toi.
Merci, il n'y a pas de problème. La Fédération Française de Carrosserie est la plus vieille fédération automobile française. Elle existe depuis plus de 175 ans. Elle regroupe 2000 entreprises de carrosserie construction et de carrosserie réparation. Et elle est aussi la seule fédération automobile à posséder ces salons, Équipe Auto, que vous connaissez très bien, et Solutrans. Voilà.
Ah ouais.
Voilà. Ça, c'est
Christophe, je dois traduire pour les Italiens et seulement
So the French Federation is among the three French confederations, and they're very much active, and they also own Équipe Auto, which is the main event when it comes to the after sale in France.
Christophe, je vais poser une question à toi, parce que nous avons parlé de la relation entre la carrosserie et l'assurance, et surtout pour les aspects de la digitalisation. Et alors, quelle est la situation en France aujourd'hui?
Alors, en France aujourd'hui, on va dire que déjà la relation entre les assureurs et les carrossiers n'est pas très très bonne. Elle est plutôt d'un ordre hiérarchique. L'assureur impose vraiment beaucoup de conditions et des conditions surtout financières très dures et demande beaucoup de services aux carrossiers.
So, in France, the relationship between the body shops and insurance companies is not rosy, mainly because insurance companies in France impose different services that car repairers have to acknowledge, and these, of course, entails tariffs.
On va dire qu'aujourd'hui, il y a deux réseaux. Il y a les réseaux agréés par les compagnies qui accordent donc ces tarifs et font ces services, on va dire, de manière souvent gracieuse. Et puis, il y a de l'autre côté le réseau non agréé qui, lui, pratique bien évidemment les services, mais n'a pas accès, on va dire, à la partie digitalisation, puisque c'est l'objet de notre discussion aujourd'hui.
Okay.
So in France, as a matter of fact, there are two networks. That is to say, one that is managed by the insurance companies with clearly defined tariffs, and then another network which is not like this. So a lot must be done, especially when it comes to the digital relationships between body shops and insurance companies.
Merci. Donc, les réseaux agréés bénéficient, on va dire, depuis une trentaine d'années de la dématérialisation de l'ensemble de la circulation des documents. Il y a une société qui a été créée spécifiquement pour cela, qui s'appelle Darva chez nous, et qui facilite, on va dire, la circulation des informations entre les réparateurs, les assureurs, les experts automobiles et les clients.
So there's an important aspect relating to the spreading of technical information among, for instance, car repairers, insurance companies and assessors. And there are some companies that act as, let's say, mediators, let's say, in order to simplify the entire system of relations.
Les avis de sinistre, les photos, les rapports d'experts et les factures transitent par ce système et permettent donc au réseau d'agréés d'être réglé beaucoup plus vite plutôt que le règlement transite par le client.
So basically, thanks to this third party, the pictures and estimates and also the reports are included in this system. And in this case, it is a sort of hub where this information is collected and then distributed.
De l'autre côté, il y a les non agréés qui, eux, ne bénéficient pas de ces services et ne bénéficient pas surtout du règlement du sinistre qui transite par le client.
So, along this pathway, there's the involvement in terms of sharing of information, also, well, the involvement of consumers. So the system is not just involving professionals, but also consumers.
Mais
Oui.
que c'est une proposition. Ici en Italie, il y a beaucoup de problèmes, mais il y a aussi des tables de travail, vous le connaissez, mais peut-être qu'on va penser à une table de travail internationale.
Oui, alors ça nous intéresse bien sûr, et nous on milite pour donner accès à l'ensemble des carrosseries, accès à ces outils de digitalisation et de dématérialisation.
Ah oui?
De façon, bien sûr.
Une table internationale pour la carrosserie, ok.
Oui.
Je vais poser cette question aussi à les invités italiens, ok?
Ok.
À vous. Merci, Christophe.
So we asked for an important information linked to the international approach. So this is very much important because today the international working groups are not there, especially when it comes to, for instance, car repairers. We had some attempts in the past, but then we'll ask the Italian Secretary General and the Italian President what they think about it. But this is cool. But is definitely willing to. But now we're going to Sidney.
Okay.
Oui.
Okay.
Hello, yes.
Barbara and me would like to come in Sydney, to spend some holidays and days with you, just to visit Australia. But okay, after COVID, okay, Michel.
We stay here.
But okay, now we stay here at the moment, but we will join you in Sydney. So, Michel, which is the situation of the digitalization of the relationship between body shops and insurance company. You know, you are a big expert of the body shop around the world. No? You have owner of a very important magazine in Australia, not only in Australia. And you know which is the problems around the world, United States, Europe, and Asia, and so on. So can you spend with us just 4 or 5 minutes to describe this picture about this kind of issues?
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate the invitation. Very simply, I'm going to just simply explain that COVID-19 has driven us to a new economy. It's called the low-touch economy. Now, the world is coming through a once-in-a-century pandemic that has paralyzed industries, decimated jobs, and wreaked chaos on humanity. It's a known fact that in the collision repair industry, many shops were forced to close due to the lack of vehicles needing repairs. Now, when you have a lockdown, people don't go out, don't drive, and don't have accidents. And when lockdowns are eased, people begin to venture out, they start to drive, and accidents happen. However, people were conditioned not to mix with other people. They did not want to interact with body shop operators for fear of contracting the virus. So they'd been used to chatting to others via Zoom, like we are doing now, or any other form of electronic communication. And this is how the low-touch economy was born. And the low-touch economy means no touching, no contact with other people. So what is this and how will it change the insurance claim processes? This is the lack of contact forced upon us by COVID-19 and the pandemic. People don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to be at home. They want to watch TV. They want to order food. They want to have things delivered. They go onto Amazon. They don't need to do any contact. They have an accident. Well, they want somebody else to look after it. They want to get online, click a few keys, and then get in touch with the insurance company. Come and take my car, fix it, and bring it back to me. This is what's happening nowadays. Now, how is it going around the world? In the mature markets, in the Western world, as we would call it, the USA, the UK, most of Europe, Australia, South Africa, some of the places where we think the market is a bit more mature, digitization is happening. It is happening at a slow pace, but it's moving continuously and will take over, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, within 18 months at the most, 12 to 18 months maximum. Now, for the rest of the markets, anything from high-tech countries to the third world is a slow process. What is happening at the moment is, for argument's sake, we've had this conversation in the Middle East during a webinar that I did for another company. It is hard to implement it. We have barriers to the implementation. And what are these barriers? The complexity. It's hard to do. It's hard to digitize for the average body shop to change all its operation into digital. There's investment. There's a lot of time, a lot of money spent to do this. And then you've got regulations, or perhaps lack of regulations, because we don't have any.
Michel, It's a slow
Yes.
process, we know, but we hope we can boost very, very, very soon this process around the world. And with you, Michel, we would like to go in deep on that issues. Next year, you know, we will have a very big event here in Italy. We already discussed about that, and I'm sure we can go in deep with you. Thank you so much, Michel, for your contribution today, and wait us in Sydney, no, because we will join you. Ok, ciao Michel, thank you very much. Barbara, un bellissimo viaggio, abbiamo aperto delle
Decisamente sì, per ora.
Okay, so that's going to be a wonderful journey. Let's go back to Italy now. And I'd like to go back to Antonella Grasso.
Sì, sì, ci sono.
Are you there? Yes, here we are. So what do you think about this journey? Christophe has made a commitment and he said okay, it would be beautiful to have a dialogue, and you heard in front the situation is different.
Mi verrebbe da dire tutto il mondo è paese.
Well, I might say that we are the same all over the world, and each single market has its own, peculiarities.
Che un confronto e un approfondimento
And of course, maybe, well, an in-depth analysis can be useful for everyone.
magari trarre spunto
And maybe we can be inspired by the examples set by other countries, and maybe there are solutions we didn't think about. Yeah, but have you heard Michel when he said that digitalization is a slow process and it is expensive? And this is what we are going through in Italy as well. Yeah, I fully share this, but it's not just this. I mean, of course, there's an issue relating to investments and also resources,
e poi queste informazioni
and also the management of information. Because digitalization has to be an enabler, of course, which paves the ways and opens the market and allows a better access to information by anyone. And of course, this is going to be the main topic relating to the management of information, because this determines in turn who's in and who's out. And of course, this is a very important aspect. So you are in the international groups and tables.
la CNA c'è.
The CNA is there. Okay. Let's see if Confartigianato is there. Pino?
Eccoci.
Here we are. So, Confartigianato is in as well.
Tutti i nostri amici da casa, quindi
And we have witnesses that are now seeing your approach. Yeah, of course. Jokes apart. I'm sure that this exchange of views may generate important results for the future. And of course, we have to become aware of the fact that exchanging views with other countries will allow us to grow. So Confartigianato is in. And I believe that this moment has been fundamental, and it will be a trigger. So I wish we had a continuity in these activities and these approaches, because it's important to exchange views, and we've had the chance to listen to some interesting opinions. So Confartigianato is there. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution, and we will monitor the evolution of this international working group. So I'd like to seize the opportunity to greet our speakers who've been absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Antonella Grasso. See you soon. Bye, Pino. And I'll keep my promise, and I'll see you soon. So Christophe, Bazin, thank you. Silvia, Pansini, Massimo, Sartori, and Michel, Malik, thank you. Thank you all.
Future motive.